Hello, and welcome to the Why Did You Write That podcast, where I, Allison, and my co hosts, Telnar, Godcat, and Doughboy, go through a piece of storytelling and ask ourselves, why did they write that? Today's installment is going to be on Ironheart, which is a quasi sequel to I actually think I would say superlative Iron Man. I actually quite enjoyed that movie. I think it's the pinnacle of the MCU. So they sort of peaked at the beginning. Although, there's different opinions on the panels. Mine is by no means definitive statement upon the MCU. But yeah, so we're going to be covering Ironheart and what we thought of that particular installment in the MCU. And if you want to chime in at any point throughout the show, then you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And again, that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. You get a little bit more space to elaborate upon your thoughts, and we get whatever benefit you get, whatever the full benefit of whatever funds you send. So it's a very best way to get a hold of us and get us to comment on what you want us to comment on. Now, I see in the back room that we're having a little bit of technical difficulties on YouTube's end, so I don't know what's going on with the chat. I do want to announce that we have a proper mic for Doughboy, so his inability to speak should be fixed, and hopefully we will enjoy the full benefit of his thoughts. And just to introduce everyone, Telomnar is Telomnar the Magnificent, as he wishes to be spoken of, and then Doughboy is a folklorist, and Godcat is a fellow writer, aspiring writer like myself. And we all are very much interested in story and analyzing story. Now, I'm just going to make sure that everything is going okay, and you guys can talk amongst yourselves. What are your initial impressions of Ironheart?
Well, before we do anything else, I was going to say, I believe Godcat is a published author, not just an aspiring one.
Yes.
Three books that don't sell very well. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's three more than all the rest of us put together.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm getting there. Trying my best. We'll see what happens with the captive eye. So, see if this... Yep, this is public, so it is available for people to see it. I wonder if it didn't go out.
There are people watching it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you're talking about Solimnar's
well,
comment, he was saying it is live. We do have picture and sound, not the opposite.
Yeah. For some reason, my picture is, like, really rough. Well, we'll figure that out. It's probably because it's dim. Dim and mysterious. Okay. So we got 4 people watching. Great, thank you. Welcome to the people who are actually joining us. All right, so why don't we start... So, initial thoughts, everyone. Let's do a round table. Doughboy.
I'm lucky.
Okay, Godcat.
I'm lucky enough to say that I was working long hours while you were watching Ironheart, so I never saw it. All I have is what you guys have to say.
Okay, you're just along for the ride. You know what? I'm gonna.
I can comment. I can comment on Iron Man. I cannot comment on Ironheart beyond reactions to what you guys tell me.
Okay, so I'll go with Telomnar. Telomnar, tell us what you thought overall.
All right. Well, the word derivative is vastly overused and makes me feel like Ongo Gablogian from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I think I got the name right there. But it is really derivative because it is literally some chick who wants to copy Tony Stark's suit and I want to use it to rescue people instead, and can never quite pull it off. In spite of having all the resources of MIT behind her instead of being stuck with scraps in a cave. She also has a moral compass that could generously be described as demagnetized. Because, like, well, we'll get to the details there, but she has a hard time with it. And they made very sure to show a young black woman as having an incredible technological ability. She's supposed to have a genius level IQ and an incredible ability to just build or fix just about anything. They couldn't decide to give her that thing that successful young black people tend to have in their lives quite a lot more than the unsuccessful ones, which is an intact family.
Hitting below the belt already.
Well, that is where family making happens.
God damn. All
Hey,
right.
no swearing.
You're right. I'm supposed to be controlling
Yes.
that.
Your husband is supposed to be civilizing you. He's supposed to be having a civilizing influence.
Okay, good luck with that. All right, so I see the problem. My focus is crap, and YouTube is trying to compensate. So there is a technical difficulty, and I am the technical difficulty. All right, Doughboy, did you want to add to that while I attempt to fix this?
Yes. I'll make it brief.
All right.
Ironheart was an underwhelming experience, brought down mostly by its unlikable characters, its uneven pacing, and its questionable plot points. We'll get to that.
Yeah, they're pretty questionable. Let's see if I move back, if I'll go into... Oh, okay. So I have to go back really far to be in focus. That's interesting. All right, so let's look at the trailer, since we're here and we have it. All right.
My stepdad used to say the best way to know a thing is to take it apart, put it back together. Then you can see what it's really made of.
You should take your dad's advice. Break yourself down. See what you're made of.
Here goes nothing. If I'm gonna protect people, I gotta start thinking outside the box.
Out of all the things you could have built, with that big brain of yours, why this?
Because I have to.
Might be a hero in there after all.
I think we just got totally booted off YouTube. I forgot to do the banana. Well, maybe they won't care because this performs so badly. They'll just be excited that anyone cares enough to watch it. Oh, boy. Okay, so all I can see from this trailer is promises that weren't fulfilled in this story. So there was supposed to be some deeper and more meaningful relationship between Riri and Joe, and that didn't happen unless I missed something. Did you guys see anything? Did you when you saw this in the trailer? I was actually, because I never watched the trailer, I was a little surprised to see that Riri and Joe's relationship was given so much prominence. And also that Riri and her relationship with her stepfather, which incidentally, I don't know why they made it a stepfather. Why not just a father? And the reason why I say that is because the stepfather died and the father died. And it's like, do you really need that many dead male parental figures? Right? And then you start wondering about her mom. You know, you sort of feel bad for her mom. She's down 2 men. And specifically she says she's a widow. But anyway, from this trailer, I was like shocked that there was so much prominence between Riri and Joe, because that doesn't play out in the story. It doesn't at all. It doesn't seem like Joe influences Riri for the better in any sense of the word, or really influences her at all. Am I wrong? Like, am I completely out to lunch, guys? What do you guys think? Just to focus in on that presentation, that story promise in the trailer. Yeah?
In fact, during the show, Riri is the one who inspires Joe to change.
And not in... And the thing is that sounds like she's a positive influence. I don't know if she really is a positive influence. So,
It's temporarily positive, I'd say.
Temporarily positive. Her criminality, well, temporarily positive, and then he goes massively south as a result of her influence. So, anyway, what about you, Telmnar? Did you have some thoughts as a result of watching that trailer?
I was not watching it very closely, kind of keeping an eye on the chat and the number of people watching, which is climbing.
Oh yeah, no, it's good.
We're massive. We're in the double digits.
Awesome.
Famous.
Yes. Comment here. Okay. Well, anyway. Oh yeah, people are doing the meme. People are doing the in a cave with a box of scraps. I don't think my delivery was definitely not on par with that of the movie, but there we go. But yeah, very very apt point. So I didn't watch the trailer too closely, but what I understand about this is I think this is the new trailer, because yes, I put up two, and they had an old one that looked very different, and then they had a new one that they re-edited pretty substantially.
Oh, this
so
was two.
I think this is the more recent.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Get out of my water, cat. You have a water bowl. You do not need my water. I don't need more toxoplasmosis from you. All right, sure. Let's take a look at the original trailer before they edited it into the second. See what's going on here. Maybe there's some insight to the shenanigans.
Oh, can we put the closed captions on? Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
They're on. They're on. Sorry.
For real.
Welcome, Mary. In less than 3 minutes, the air in this elevator will no longer be breathable.
Oh, what is this?
Your interview. You'll suffocate, die unless you break into the device on the floor. Or you find a gas mask. Good luck.
Screw this.
I heard Riri Williams was a genius.
Oh, crud. We're probably gonna get hit with it. No, maybe not, because I haven't been. It's sort of got me in it. Maybe it won't pick it up, but yeah, maybe we have that reaction video immunity because there's so much of me in this shot. But yeah, this is so far pretty different. Let's continue.
So you in or out?
I might also add that this is more accurate, I think. Isn't that interesting? So
1 million views, 220,000 thumbs up. Not a great ratio.
it's not bad. I mean, if I was on my other computer, I could tell you how many thumbs down it's got. It's just
I think it's more.
Really? Do you have that that plugin?
No, I don't.
I do.
Maybe I should get it.
Yeah, get it. You could probably get it if you have Chrome. You could probably get it pretty quick. But let's finish this off. I might take another look at it.
I don't know.
Mary, I see you. I see you're fed up, waiting to be acknowledged for your greatness.
You are not the first genius at MIT.
Yeah, but she was probably one of the few with such a toxic influence on the school culture. I mean, what is that supposed to say? Is that supposed to be like, oh, he's got such a bias against the black girl genius? Or is it supposed to actually be accurate, which he's calling her out on her bullshit?
How come you're not working at one of those fancy tech firms?
After my internship abroad, I want to build something undeniable. Something
Important?
iconic. It's a brand new...
Ugh. Her motivation sucks. And I don't even mean that it's like selfish and everything else. Throughout, they're really bad at being able to clearly articulate what her motivation or her goals are. And that's one of the things that I found made it very difficult to watch. By comparison, when we watched Iron Man, it was very clear in every single scene what Stark's goals were, what Pepper Potts' goals were, what not Obadiah Stane. Is it Obadiah? Obadiah Stane? But of course he was holding his cards close to his chest, so you're not supposed to know what his goals are. But everybody else, you understood their goals. They were really clear. In this show, I don't understand what motivates this girl. It's never made particularly clear in each of the scenes. It's always a muddle, and that makes it extremely hard to watch.
I can give you the tools to help you carry out your vision.
Actually, by motivate, I should say what goal she's seeking. And I think part of the problem is that the goal is so weak and nebulous, right? It's so weak and nebulous that it doesn't come through clearly in the scenes that she is in. I mean, she wants to make money. She wants to make an iconic... So what? Like, that's not a really... I don't know, it's not a really driving goal. It's just... I mean, what happens if she doesn't? She lives a relatively comfortable life in the middle class with her mom.
But anyone who's ever accomplished anything iconic in life has had to do some questionable things to get it done. What will you do, Riri?
What the hell is she talking about? Anybody who's done anything worth doing, or does iconic have a special meaning here? Does iconic have a special meaning? I'm going to throw this to the panel. Does iconic have a special meaning here?
Without the context of the show, and just the context of the general MCU, my guess is she just wants to make as big of a name for herself as Tony Stark does Iron Man. Just for the sake of having a big name. That's the best I can gather.
So ego. Usually that's the motivation given to villains, but... Okay.
You've bitten off a hell of a lot more than you can chew. I could chew a lot.
Sorry, this is, I just need to make sure we don't get hit. So there's a few more. Jeez, this is the trailer that never ends. But it's actually really interesting now that I've watched both of them, what they changed about these trailers.
You know nothing about this man.
This is the older one that we're talking about from the first one.
You're gonna end up dead or in
Get the
jail.
impression she's a lot
This
more
is so
advanced.
much bigger than that.
Why did she do that? Okay, do you guys remember that scene in the show? Because I don't.
That truck is trying to run her down.
Okay, fair
it's being
enough.
driven by one of the gang members.
Oh, that she joined.
That have now turned on her.
Yeah, I know, but that she constructed this entire situation for herself is what I'm pointing out.
Well, how is she to know that criminals
This is
aren't
wild.
trustworthy?
How was she to know that the man named the Hood would double-cross her in a spectacular way? So, spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched this movie. How was she to know that people who regularly stole from others and betrayed them would end up betraying her? How was she to know? It's a mystery.
A shady bunker.
My bunker's not shady. Would a shady bunker have that on the wall?
It's literally above a crate of self-guided missiles.
I'm returning those.
Now, admittedly, that dude is like the best part of this entire movie.
The white guy is the best character.
Yes. I don't know how they can...
Cool.
Yeah, actually, I have a theory for why that is. I have a theory now for why the white guy's always the best character. And this is my theory, right? Now, in these like these, I guess, story jams. When you put in a male character, you actually have to justify why he's there. Right? You don't have to justify why the black girl is there because it's representation. You don't have to justify why the gay drag dude is there. Representation. You don't have to justify why minorities are there. It's representation. But when you put a white guy in, he better damn well have a reason for being there. Because if he doesn't, he's gone. So that actually is constructing a winnowing system for any kind of white male characters, or and possibly male characters in general, because generally whenever a male character was on screen, this entire show got so much better. It's unbelievable, guys. But in general, it's creating this kind of a quality control for white male characters. So they end up becoming the best characters because they have a reason to be there. And it has to be a very solid reason, or they're out and they're going to be replaced by somebody else. Right? You can pack as many diversity hires as you want into your story, and they can do absolutely nothing. And their presence is justified just because they hit some diversity boxes. But the instant you put a white man in there, there has to be a reason. He's got to be doing something. He's got to be doing some heavy lifting in terms of the plot, in terms of characterization, motivation, theme, something. He's got to be doing things. Otherwise, you don't have a job. He gets out. That's why I think they're always the best characters. and the people who are writing this stuff I don't even know if they realize that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. They're making the male characters the best characters because they're always making sure that they have a reason to be there, which you should be doing for every single character, which I highly doubt they are doing with their representation characters. They're probably putting these characters in, and they're saying, oh, we got to have this, we got to have that, we got to have that. Now we need to write a plot to contain all of these excessive characters who have no coherent reason for being here in the first place. Right? And the problem with the diversity characters is the more you have of them, the better it is, right? So you don't want, like, if you could, the way that you usually do characters in storytelling is, if you can reduce the characters, you do. One of the best narrative decisions in Hollywood history was George Lucas combining the character of Luke and Leia's father with Darth Vader. And this is writer advice. Combine characters and you deepen character relationships, you deepen even plot, you deepen your story by combining characters. But the problem with the diversity characters, you don't want to combine them, you want to proliferate them, which means you're cutting up merit. And you're handing like little pellets of merit, like you're handing all the merit to the white male characters, and you're handing little pellets to the others because you want to have as many of them as you can. So you're dividing up the merit between them. So you end up having a white male character who has to have, I don't know, how many points of merit to be even there, and then every other bit of, like, the same amount of merit is being shared between all of your diversity characters. And also your black female main character. And it just creates something that sort of sucks. So what are your thoughts? I'll throw it to the panel. What do you think? Do you think that's an accurate assessment of why all this stuff sucks so much?
I think that's a real
I always have...
One at a time.
Just go ahead, Godcat.
Go ahead, Godcat.
I'm very utilitarian in my writing, so I always have a problem with the whole representation matters. I just think, well, what does this trait add to the story? How can I use their sexuality or their race or their disability to bolster the story to some capacity? And that's always how I looked at it. But your words about merging characters, that is the truth. I've done that many times myself. And sometimes I've even split some because certain elements weren't working. And I never really thought about how basically just blowing the cast like that would severely hurt the quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You really should know why your characters are there. And the answer shouldn't be because I want to have as many Pokemon as possible. All right, did you want to speak, Telemnar?
Well, I wanted to say this looks like a genuine insight. We may have heard the first elaboration of a theory of andro-agathicity.
Mm-hmm. Andro-agathicity is that no matter what, whenever Hollywood puts a man on the screen, it always makes whatever they're doing better.
Indeed. Andros man, agathic good.
Mm-hmm.
Man good.
Man good. And
yeah.
for whatever reason, despite the fact that they are trying to... they're trying to I guess make men not cool. They keep making men more and more cool in their stories. And honestly, this set of trailers sort of confirms the andro-agathic principle, the man equal good principle in Hollywood. Because this original trailer, I mean, I'll just scan through it. Let me there we go. And I'm going to take the scene switcher off so I can just permanently put it on that one. And then I'm going to scan through this. And this trailer actually more follows the plot. And it focuses on her relationship to the gang. Right? And then getting out of this elevator, which was the big... this is the test that she took to get into the gang, into the Hood's gang. And then it focuses on the relationship between her and the Hood, and it's him challenging her now. It's him challenging her to say, oh, well, if you're going to do something iconic, then you have to be bad, which, favors him because he wants to put her in his gang and use her for nefarious ends, right? Of course, it ends on this very adorable interaction between the two of them, which between her and Joe, who, spoilers, is Jebediah Stain's son, but that doesn't really go anywhere, and it focuses this end here.
This is wild. A shady bunker.
My bunker's not shady. Would a shady bunker have that on the wall?
Right? That's the best part of the trailer. And it's him. And it gets worse. It gets more ridiculous as you go on. And again, like going back to the other trailer, let's look at that one. Right? And this one, almost it's the relationship with her father, right? Her mother. I think that was her father in the beginning. Yeah, that's her father, which was actually her stepfather, sorry, which I still don't understand why they did that. They had the woman be, I think, a widow of the original father, unless, yeah, I'm pretty sure she said this guy married a widow. So she was a widow when he married her. And then she became a widow again. It's like, that needs that's too, it just doesn't work. It's like, it's compositionally wrong. Just have her have a father who died. Okay? Don't make it this complex because it gets confusing. But anyway, it was a nice, touching scene. Again, a little bit of that andro-agathic principle that everything becomes better when there's a man on screen. Suddenly, she becomes a sympathetic character as a result of the fact that her father cared about her. And then we have that, and this is the revised one. And then she talks about her father said, you have to break something down to figure out how something is made. And then we have the, relationship with her and Joe again. I think somewhere in here. I'm probably going a little too fast. There we go. There might be a hero in there after all. Oh, good golly, wouldn't have that been wonderful instead of just a little shitty criminal? Oh my, I swore. A little shady criminal. Which is what
Didn't swear. It's the word shady the whole time.
Yeah. Which is what she ended up being. A little shady criminal. Nothing redeemable. There is nothing redeeming in this individual. Alright, so let me just get back to us. And fascinating that the original trailer much more closely follows the show. The second trailer much more closely follows what's worthwhile in the show, which is her relationship with her father and her relationship with Joe. Those are the things that make it marginally watchable. And her relationship with the Hood, I mean, he was... What did you guys think of the Hood as a character?
Before anyone speaks, I want to ask a question.
Yeah.
They have a black villain whose name is the Hood.
I think he's more Hispanic. But still,
Okay.
Point taken, yes. I mean, it's from the MCU universe, so he's a villain. This isn't his first this isn't his first appearance. He's in the comics. I don't know much about him. I'm not really very I don't have a lot of Marvel lore. I apologize. I'm not nerdy in that way. But yeah, so yeah, the original one focused on her relationship with the Hood, and this one focuses on her relationship with her father and her relationship with Joe, which in my opinion were some of the nicest, the best rendered relationships like the guy who played the Hood wasn't bad. He just, for a bad guy, he was sort of scrubby. You know what I mean? He was scruffy. He's a nerf herder.
Well, I think there's nothing wrong with scruffy. It depends on the nature of the bad guy, but you just didn't have that intimidation.
No, he
about
didn't
him,
have
perhaps?
an intimidation factor. He was very I don't know. He just seemed very low level. And what's really annoying is that gang that he was the head of, they didn't do anything in the climax. So okay. There are things you need to do in writing that were simply not done in this story. There are things like setup, and in particular, there is not wasting your audience's time. In the very beginning, when you everything you do at the beginning, right? People will expect to somehow tie into the climax. So the more time you spend with it at the beginning, the more importance it has in the audience's mind, right? So we spend how much time with the gang, with the Hood's gang? So the Hood is the one who's giving Riri the deal with the lesser deal with the devil, right? He's saying, join my gang and I will deliver your dreams. And incidentally, I personally found Riri's motivation to be very weak, but whatever. I will deliver your dreams if you join my gang and do nefarious things with us, right? And then we get introduced to the gang at length. And honestly, I found none of them memorable. They were really trying to make them memorable, but not in the right way. They were like, oh, this is the drag queen super hacker. Oh, this is the lesbian... No, I guess they weren't lesbian. The
Friends.
butch... They weren't friends. They were friends? Okay, the butch lesbian and the trans man thugs.
Yeah.
I thought they were a couple. But
I think
anyway.
they're supposed to be siblings.
Siblings, okay. Well, be it as it may. There was the butch lesbian and the trans man underground fight club duo. Right? And then there was the explosions expert. And then there might have been one other person that I don't remember for the life of me. Right? And
What about Rampage, Eric Andre? The
Yeah,
one they got rid of.
yeah, but he died initially. I mean, so it's almost like he didn't really occupy much space. Although I think he was memorable, or more memorable than the others. But, I mean, he becomes important because the others remember that he died, and apparently he was killed by the Hood, and that becomes a plot point at a later date. But, so my overall point about that is they put so much effort into showing us this gang, showing everything that they do, showing interactions between them, and they had absolutely no relevance in the climax. So that was completely wasted time. They wasted our time with this. They wasted our time with this gang, elaborating on this gang, which disappeared by the point the climax is. And when you're in the beginning, everything you do, it's like conservation of space. Everything you do is the most important. The first things you introduce people to are the most important. The thing that ended up taking up all the room in the climax was a bunch of witches. Like, you remember that? Like, what? We suddenly witches. Right? 2/3 of the way in, a coven of witches is introduced. And they end up being much more part of the climax than the gang. Oh, good grief. Did you guys have thoughts on that? Apparently not. Or I can't hear you? Or...
Yes,
All right, go ahead, Doughboy.
I was going to say that one of the things that brought the season down, and one reason why I think it has such serious pacing issues, is that the show tries to tackle almost two genres. It tries to tackle the sort of heist story, but it also wants to do urban fantasy with Mephisto, but not reveal him until nearly the end.
Or even
so it's
hint. It didn't even hint at him. Sorry, did I throw you off? I apologize.
No, I was done.
Oh, okay. Like, they didn't even hint at Mephisto. All right, now you're just destroying things just to destroy things.
All right, I'll stop.
It's not you.
Oh, okay.
She's just dumping things off. Like, good grief, Cat. All right, so I got to restart. Void Cat has struck again. Okay, there we go.
Okay, well, I will vamp for time because I have an opinion about that as well, which is that they could have cut all of those silly gang members who definitely look like very serious and threatening. That includes the two women who are supposed to be muscles for the they're supposed to be the muscle for the gang. They're like 5'2" each or something like that, and not very. They don't look like they can win a fist fight against very many people.
No.
And they've already got the second in command who uses his knife. So they've already got violence people. And the explosives expert and hacker could have both been combined into Andre. So really, from a writing perspective, you should have had like the boss, the second in command, and Andre. Like, it should have been 3 people in the entire gang. All of whom, well, 2 of whom have plot importance. Andre could be worked in a little better because he was by far the most entertaining and interesting gang member personality-wise. And then that's who Ironheart is joining. And it's way fewer characters to handle, and it's just easier to write for. They already did so much work establishing Eric Andre as this good character, but maybe they didn't have the budget for him. And yeah, it would have been a much improved show, in my opinion.
But it wouldn't have all that diversity. Tell him, Nar.
Insufficient representation.
It would have insufficient representation.
It would have been 2 Hispanic guys. I think Eric Andre is like half black, half white or something, but I don't know how such things are measured. But anyway, and then you would have had the girl, which is Riri. So yeah, they wouldn't have had enough diversity. It would have been better written, though.
It would have been so much better written, and all of the characters would have double the reason for being there. But they won't do it because you just got rid of the point, the diversity. And this is probably why the gang just disappeared before the climax. They literally set up this posse of supposedly dangerous villains, and then at the climax they just are like, yeah, screw this. We're gonna go get mimosas in the local tavern. Just screw this, and we never see them again. Like nothing. It amounts to nothing. Oh, your time is served. You've done the diversity thing. Bye. Good Lord. And it is
possibly
it is because of that. It's because when they want these multiple characters checking off boxes, they don't think about them in terms of their use and their worth to the plot. All right, go ahead, Doughboy.
Possibly in relation to that, I noticed that Riri doesn't actually have a singular enemy in this series the way that most MCU characters does.
Yeah.
She goes to battle with the Hood, both the individual members of the crew and its leader and its other co-leader, and she also goes up against Joe at one point, and
Yeah.
technically Mephisto is the final boss, but she doesn't actually fight him. So she
Yeah.
has 3 arch enemies in a 6-episode series.
Yeah, yeah, and it that's one of the things. It suffers from a lack of cohesion, and I think that reflects on the fact that her motive. Okay, please don't start changing my layout. Thank you. I don't even know how you're doing that. The motive, her motive, is all over the place. Right? Let's compare to the original Iron Man. Okay, so we start with Tony Stark, and he's in the caravan, and it gets blown up, and he wakes up in the cave, and he's tasked with making a missile that will hurt a whole bunch of people, and he's faced with the product of his own company, the product of his own genius, which is all of this weapons technology. And he's faced with coming right into, like, being right in the same place as the consequences of his actions, right? He's now a victim of his own technology. He's a victim of the things that he's been doing up to this point, and he's seeing victims of everything of his technology, and he's interacting with them. And he's interacting with the black market clients of his technology. So he's seeing he's like getting his nose rubbed in the dark side of all of himself, his own shadow self. And he has to deal with that. So for him, it is the lowest moment morally in his life. It's like the pit of despair, morally, in terms of seeing who he really is. And at the same time as he's completely physically shredded and disabled and near death, at the same time as he's entrapped and kidnapped, and all of these things come together to set up his motive and his goal going forward, which is to oppose the harms that his company has done, okay, selling this technology. In every single scene, you understand his motive clearly. You understand what he's doing clearly and why he's doing it. And it's it's clear, not just because it's simple, because Riri's motive is simple. More money, right? She didn't want the money. But Tony's motive is not just simple. It's made clear because of the stakes. And we see the stakes in the initial, in the first act. We see it all laid out. Right, every bit of it. And we also see that despite the fact of who he is and what he's doing, someone still cares about him, and someone is still trying to appeal to the best parts of him. That's Pepper Potts, right? So we have this lovely setup, and the stakes are clear. You know, if he gives in, he loses his soul. But if he stands up, he could lose everything. All of his material, like his company, his wealth, his life, right? So with the stakes are clear, therefore the motivation is clear. And in many individual scenes, because scenes tend to have scene goals, they're also clear. But with Riri, her motivation is so vague, and so it has no stakes. And I mean, I guess they try in the initial part of the story to try to show her going through a dark night of the soul. And that's what's one of the interesting things about the original Iron Man plot, is the dark night of the soul is in the first act. So it's a little bit unique in terms of its plot. They try to do that with Riri, in that she is enrolled in MIT. Right? She has a grant to pursue her studies. But it's not enough, and it's never really clear why that is not enough. She has to go and sell her work to other students so they can pass it off as their own. So she has to violate ethical guidelines of the academic institution to gain more money for what? So she can make this iconic. I mean, and there's they go through multiple different. She wants to do this because she wants to save people, as if that's different motivation from Tony Stark, right? She wants to make a suit that could be used as first responder. But ultimately, it really does come down to she wants to make this iconic suit. Then one other point that she says, "Oh well, my father was really invested in blah blah blah," but it all just doesn't feel. It just feels like you're throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing what sticks. It's not clear because the stakes aren't clear. What happens if she doesn't build this suit? Well, I guess Riri doesn't get to be famous. Who gives a fuck? Right? What happens if she doesn't get the money to build the suit? Well, I guess she doesn't get to be famous. Who gives a fuck? Those aren't stakes. I don't care about Riri's ego. I really don't care. So that no point is it important that she actually build this suit. It was important with Iron Man initially so he could escape a trap constructed by all the things he wasn't looking at when he was high flyer CEO of a company making arms. Right? He wasn't seeing the tar pit he was leaving behind. And then he got sucked into it and he had to make the suit to escape himself. And when he managed to escape the physical representation of his own fall into darkness, he then had to escape himself. Like the thing inside him and try to atone for what he was. There's none of that in Riri. With Riri. It's never presented that her behavior is something she needs to atone for. Does she need to go out and give reparations, give something back to the people she steals from? Right? Does she have to give something back to the administration of MIT who invested so much in her and she squandered it on petty criminality? No. Nowhere does she actually do anything in terms of redeeming herself. And again, she's never put into the situation that Tony Stark is put into. And that's what makes Tony Stark's story so compelling. He's fighting against himself. He's fighting against his previous actions in the cave, and then he's fighting against his actions against that, in general, the consequences of his actions when he gets out of it. And Riri has none of that. None of it. And it's like, okay, let me pose a question to the panel. What are the stakes if Riri doesn't make her damn suit?
He has to get a real job.
Doughboy?
I honestly don't have an answer, but I did notice something. Riri's stated goal of making something iconic is at odds with her actual role in the narrative because she's working for a covert group of criminals who obviously can't enjoy the limelight.
You're right. And then there's all the logical inconsistencies. And they have constructed a mess. And that's why Riri's goals, well, not her goals, her motivation is never clear. Right? And, I mean, in Iron Man, I'm going to pose a question about Iron Man, because Iron Man's probably the better story. Well, probably. It is definitively the better story. When Iron Man, is there a point, okay, I think that the story front-loaded the Dark Night of the Soul. So it happened in the first act. But is there a point later on where he has another Dark Night of the Soul? Can you guys identify that?
It's when he realizes Obadiah was selling weapons to both sides.
Mm.
And is not, and furthermore, right around then when he realizes that Obadiah also was in contact with the people who kidnapped them and was actually paying them to get rid of him.
Mm. So, in other
I was
words,
also
Dark Night of the Soul #2.
go ahead, Godcat.
I would also argue that the Dark Knight of the Soul also emerges around the climax when he sees that Obadiah has created his own Iron Man suit, and Obadiah takes his heart from him to power it.
Mm.
At least on a material level, because that's when the stakes are at their highest, and he is at his most helpless.
Mm. Yeah. You know what? I probably should. Oops. No, wrong one. There we go. Let me just put that. Let me put that up here. Just so people know what we are doing, because I keep forgetting that. There we go. There we go. Now, oops. I'm going to just put it on that, and then you guys don't have to ask the question. I probably should have done this earlier. There we go. No, it's not going to quite work, because then I lose you guys, and I don't want to do that. So let me figure this out. Give me a moment. Just working on the layout so that we understand what the heck's people who are just joining us understand what's going on. Let me do video capture, web source. You know, this I apologize, this is going to take a little bit of time, but I figure then we don't have to keep constantly answering the question of what's going on, right? And I should have thought about this beforehand. Sorry, guys. Video capture device, Discord React, web source. All right, so main scene. I'm going to do web source. Where is the web source? Okay. Let's see. And can I put it forward? No, it looks like I can't. Sorry, guys. Well, it's Ironheart. That's what we're responding to. Hopefully, you're enjoying our conversation. Did you, okay, so we were talking about the Dark Night of the Soul for Tony Stark. Did you see that at all with Riri? Did she have a Dark Night of the Soul?
Sort of. I'm muted? No, I'm not. Okay. Sort of, because at one point when she powers the suit with magic, and for reasons best known to the screenwriter, it caused her AI friend to vanish. And that was a horrible moment for her, and it was kind of her own fault.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she had to have this this is the thing. She had to have this suit, so she drags everybody into hell, and then they all help her get out again. Woohoo! That's quite the lesson. And
I thought there.
Go ahead.
I thought the Dark Night of the Soul for Riri was when her love interest finds out that she unintentionally made an AI of his dead sister, and she's sort of put in that position of, okay, do I delete the AI because he finds it disrespectful to his sister's memory, or do I allow the AI to continue because it's developed sentience and wants to live? But it gets resolved fairly easily, so maybe not the best example.
Yeah.
Well, the long dark night of the soul. I mean that my example was just the part at which she feels lowest, but it doesn't change anything about her. She still gets in the suit and does the usual stuff. So maybe not the most amazing example in my case either. I just thought it was that's where she felt lowest. That's where something actually bad happened to her, as opposed to like sort of bad or just her getting punched or something.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, it's not really very clear. Like, none of the story beats in this story are very clear. Because it's not really thought out in terms of an actual character arc. And honestly, she's a miserable person. all she does is get other people into trouble for her own interests, and then have them help save her for some reason. And it's actually sort of despicable and sickening, and a little bit unwatchable. And again, you would never see, like, Iron Man. Do you honestly think if they took the story beats that they had for Ironheart and gave them to a white male character or even a male character, it would work? It wouldn't. Because he would be doing the exact opposite of what Tony Stark did. Tony Stark dragged whole bunches of people into a nightmare, and he ignored it. And then he had to come face to face with the horrors that he was creating, and without really recognizing them. Like, he was the CEO of a company that creates weapons, and he had to come face to face with the consequences of his actions. And then he had to spend the entire movie literally trying to drag him out. Like, it's like when you see what he goes through, it sort of becomes like a karmic justice for what he's done, right? He now has to spend the rest of his life in terror of death from shrapnel from his own weapons, right? And he has to live with that for the rest of his life. But he took people into a nightmare. He had to face himself for doing that, and then he had spent the entire film trying to redeem himself for it. Whereas Riri drags people into a nightmare, and the only question is ever her safety. What she wants, what she needs. It'd be like if Tony Stark dragged people into a nightmare, and then everybody came around and they said, "Oh, poor Tony Stark, what you really need to focus on yourself. You're the one who's really suffering here. You shouldn't think about the consequences of your actions on others and try to redeem yourself as a moral human being. You should be thinking about what you need." And nobody ever says, "Riri, you constructed this with your single-minded obsession to create an iconic, something to be remembered by in terms of your technology." All right? It's like the opposite. She goes through the opposite. She drags people into hell, and they drag her back out again. And apparently something was learned from that. Right? Does she have any weaknesses? She is a weakness. Like John Doe asked, does she have any weakness? The character is a weakness. The character is incapable of taking responsibility. And she's surrounded by enablers. Okay, does anybody want to add to that? I'll see if there's any.
It's worth noting that Riri's probably the most anti-heroic character we've had in a while, because she makes a literal deal with the devil by the end of the series. And it's implied that there will be consequences to that, but Riri just doesn't seem to care as long as she gets what she wants. Which, admittedly, is to bring back someone who died young, but it's still a selfish decision because she actually doesn't bring back as many people as she can. She brings back her best friend, but not her stepdad for some reason, even though it would make her mother happier.
Yes. Well, yeah, exactly. And yeah, when she did that, it did become a question of, why is she bringing back her friend and not her stepdad? That doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to me. And, okay, so there you go. Now you have a little icon, I think. There. You guys can see what we're responding to. And I think it's a good demonstration. It looks like crap. Just like the entire series, it was crap. Except for, I suppose it looked good. Okay. So, is there any other serious flaws in the storytelling that you guys can identify? Nope. I mean, I can.
Flaws in the storytelling. Well, for one thing, she, still in the first episode, she immediately turns to crime. Like, that's the first thing that she does. after getting kicked out of MIT because
when
of
she
crime.
was she was engaging in crime before then. I mean, maybe it was more
Yes.
like white collar crime, but it was still crime.
Yes, but she doesn't think, well, I'll strike out on my own and I'll try to do something on my own, and then like we don't see her spending like a few weeks even trying to contact people and say, hey, I've got all these cool ideas, invest in me, or try to start her own repair business or anything. She doesn't act like someone who has had the opportunities that MIT gives you and is aware of those opportunities. Like you would think she wouldn't think of herself as that kind of person who's just a criminal, but she immediately seems to do that. So that seems to be not how her character should be. In my opinion.
Well, I mean, it could be how her character be. It's just that she never ever seems to just be like, why am I doing this? Why am I getting my family into increasing danger associating with a bunch of criminals who have the flimsy, the mushroom guy, Telenar. You have to talk about that logically, but she never, I mean, that's the main problem. Just hold that for a sec. The main problem is that her character arc is non-existent, confusing, which means that her motives are not clear, which means that she has multiple people who could be potential. I mean, it's not even that they're all, like they're a rogues gallery. It's not even that. It's that you don't really know who her main villain is. And when she gets to the Hood, who's supposedly the reason why she's gone, he was the one who seduced her into doing bad, right? I mean, maybe what they are doing is like a reverse Tony Stark. Tony Stark uplifts because he atones for his shadow self, and she's going down. She's gone the other way on Jacob's ladder. That's fine, but when she confronts her seducer, it is this most anticlimactic fight ever. And then suddenly we have Mephisto giving her yet another easy out. And she's like, oh, another easy out. I'll take that. Well, geez, you didn't learn anything from your last 6 easy outs, Riri? Like, what we could compare it to is not Breaking Bad, but Better Call Saul. Like, you see an excruciating, and it's not like excruciating as it's unwatchable. It's very watchable, but it's excruciating because you can watch this guy and there's multiple points that he could get off his downward spiral, and he doesn't. He just keeps going, and yet he remains likable, right? Because there are lines he won't cross, even though he gets very close to them at the end. But there's always a sense of you understanding the character and where he's going, and it just doesn't exist with Riri. And I think it's because the writers want their cake and eat it too. They want to supposedly, or this was one of their ideas, I guess. Okay, put a pin in that. I'm going off on a tangent, and I apologize. I also have the excessive amount of ideas disease. It sometimes feels like the writers put out a multitude of ideas, but didn't winnow them down into the best ones. So we have multiple, like the writers are saying multiple things about her motivation, multiple things about why she wants this suit, multiple villains, multiple potential endings, and it's like, okay, slow down, right? Not all of these are good ideas. Sometimes, I think I have that, that I have a lot of ideas, maybe too many in my stories, need to winnow them down. I think all of them are pretty good ideas. These were not all good ideas. A lot of them needed to be ended up on the cutting room floor, but that's not what happened. It's like they don't have somebody to tell these writers no. And it's the same thing with the diversity. Injecting diversity. It seems like they think more is better. No, layered is better. More deeper is better. Okay? Really think and hash out. Spend some time with this character and understand why she's doing what she's doing. Because it seems like you want to have your cake and eat it too. You want a Start of Darkness story, but you still want to treat her with kid gloves and have a heartwarming family coming together moment. Like, you can't have both. Choose. All right, go ahead, Doughboy. Or actually, I think it was Telenar.
We're all basically interchangeable here.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, you're not.
I was going to say, one of the main problems of the series as a whole, if we ignore that a lot of the characters are kind of secondary characters are kind of pointless, is that it's only 6 episodes and it's a mini-series, but it seems to be very episodic. Aside from a couple of things, nothing that happens in a previous episode affects anything in a future episode, particularly, and it seemed like they tried to kind of rectify that at the very end in episodes 5 and 6, and tried to retcon, those businesses we were hitting were actually all businesses that my father had part ownership of. I'm putting the pressure on him. Like, that really seemed like a reasonably good retcon.
That scene. Oh.
Yeah. But
okay.
The problem is, by far the coolest bad guy was actually Borat.
Yeah.
It was I'm sorry. It was Sacha Baron Cohen, but he's famous for Borat. So anyway, he's plays the devil in this one, which is Borat would probably be very offended at, because damn it, he's now people think he's a Jew. Anyway, but yeah, he was like one of the most. He was, along with the guy playing Zeke Stain, the most charismatic person on there, and he had he could do his cool British accent when he wanted to, and he could be really like charming, man of wealth and taste, and offering people deals that they are just too good to turn down and too good to be true, but they are true, except you don't want to know the truth. All that sort of devilish stuff. Except this happens in episode 5, if I'm not mistaken,
yes,
of the series, which is 6 episodes. So, and I read in the Wikipedia article on Ironheart that they said, we want to integrate magic and technology. That's what we want to do. We want to have this fusion of them in the plot. And that never actually happened until this episode, basically. I mean, technically, like, the magic exists, but it's not different than the technology, because the technology is, I mean, it's a Marvel movie. You've got a flying suit. Like, it's, the technology is basically magical gizmo that does whatever you need it.
Yeah, exactly.
To do, more or less. But when you get to the point of being able to make a deal with a supernatural entity for some special abilities, as opposed to just being smart and putting something together in your garage, that is magic versus technology, or that is something that they could have gotten into, and they didn't get into it until episode 5. It wasn't integrated at all. And if they'd shown us this in episode 1 or episode 2 at the latest, then I think, and if they'd actually integrated the whole like gang leaders secretly interacting with this mysterious man of wealth and taste thing, who has mysterious powers, then I think they would have had an interesting plot where that guy is the main antagonist, and they're except they chose different antagonists every time, and they were episodic, and they were silly. And I mean, like, it would have been considered, I think, in all honesty, I think this would be considered too dumb for a children's cartoon. Some of these antagonists, which is sad.
Yeah, and it all comes down to laziness in the writing room.
Yeah, so from a plot perspective, like, what are you doing? You
what
had
are you doing?
The good idea. It didn't show up until the last moment. It was there, but it should have been there from the beginning. Oh well.
Yeah, and again, it was just too much. Too many ideas. Too many stupid ideas. Somebody needed to be in there saying, "No, we're not going to do this." No, we need to layer some. We need to reduce the amount of characters. We need to tighten everything. There are way too many concepts, way too many characters, just way too many. It's like you're chock-a-blocking, and it's because you're not doing the setups right. You're not doing the payoffs right. You're not following best practices when it comes to introducing stuff. Like, when you introduce stuff at the beginning, people are going to think this is important, so it better damn well be important. Right? And I remember There was another really egregious fault in the writing. While I attempt to remember that, I think we should cover the scene between the Hood and his father. Okay. His father dumps him when he's 12 on the street, but his father is an incredibly rich dude. That would cause an enormous scandal. Why doesn't he just do, like you said, Telenar? Why doesn't he just do the usual thing and send him to boarding school or military school if he was particularly annoyed with him? I mean, he had options. He was rich, whereas dumping him on the streets just not really common for multimillionaire families to do. They have ways to get rid of their kids that seem socially acceptable, that are considered socially acceptable. Did you want to comment on that, Telenor?
Well, you already summarized what I said.
Oh, okay. All right.
That was their attempt to retcon, and still didn't make sense. I mean, I think it was a pretty good job overall, considering what they'd had to work with so far in the previous episodes. But yeah, like, no, you just send him to boarding school. You have lots and lots of money. There are lots of schools. You could send him to a finishing school, and he'd be like in the UK, and he could speak in received pronunciation when he came home, and all the kids would make fun of him.
yeah, there's so many things that they could have done that would have been a lot more sensible than that one. Because, he gets picked up by CPS, they're going to identify who this kid is. It's not going to be a mystery. And then his father's going to be prosecuted for neglect. And then that's going to be a huge media storm. Like, think through what you're proposing here, guys. Like I said, the rich get rid of their kids in much more subtle ways. All right. So the other problem. Remember the mushroom guy, who, honestly, I rather liked. So to get for you guys to know, there's a scene in this movie where the Hood is infiltrating this mushroom growing eccentric undersea layer, which honestly that should have played a bigger part than it did if you think about it. And this guy's played off, that the mushroom growing eccentric is played off as the bad dude because his secret mushroom growing lair is putting other mushroom growers out of business. This hydroponic lab at the bottom of the ocean, which means that each of these mushrooms probably is worth like $10,000 each, is putting, guys who are growing mushrooms out of pig shit in their sheds out of business. Well, maybe not pig poop, perhaps more like well-rotted cow manure. But and this is presented, and so it's justified to go in and kill mushroom eccentric dude because he's putting the mushroom growers out of business. With his secret lair under the ocean. Oh, God.
Well, if I was rich and I had a secret lair, I would target the mushroom farmers as well. You can't trust
that sounds like a Doofenshmirtz plot.
If he was growing mushrooms that he could then use to, like, I don't know, create a drug of some kind that he could sell on the streets or something like that'd work for a kids cartoon type plot or something like that. But oh no, the problem with this is everything in the first few episodes, at least, the bad guys specifically have to be evil corporations doing evil corporations things, and somehow the writers didn't it's like they don't know or don't care. Yeah, like that isn't how evil corporations screw over farmers. And unfortunately, a lot of it is too boring for a movie like this most of the time. I mean, the arms industry is exciting enough because then they said, "Oh my God, they're selling bombs to whoever." But if you're talking about agricultural practices, it's like they lobby to get some law passed that has some obscure side effect that they can exploit because they have lots and lots of money, and then people have to sell their family farm, and it's like, okay, it's a great drama movie. It's like Aaron Brockovich type stuff, something like that. But no, that's not the sort of thing you need an iron suit to fight.
No, you don't. And it got so convoluted in that undersea mushroom growing lair. The plot got so damn convoluted that I was like watching this thinking, why did you write that? I could just see their little hash session around the writer's table. Yeah, and he could be growing mushrooms under the sea. And the excuse is that he's putting the mushroom farmers out of business with his extremely expensive grow-op. And maybe he could also be stealing electricity from his neighbor, like C-Lab. Make him really evil. Okay.
And then he'll use all that to buy up all the property in the tri-state area.
Mm-hmm. And then do something really nefarious with it. But unspecified. We'll figure it out later. Make really, really expensive condos. And drive up the cost of rent. There you go. That's his nefarious plan. All funded by his mushroom grow-op. Oh, God, Lord. I was watching. I was like, what the hell are you doing? But at least it was zany, right? And I actually really liked that character, the mushroom eccentric guy. Like, I thought he was great. He should have been like the final boss of evil villains in this show. Could be some mushroom centric plot. I don't know. Maybe mushrooms powered the AI. There you go. They created like a biocircuit that powers the AI, and then she needs it to save her friend or some. Okay, now we're just getting ridiculous. But so there's these snarls that these writers get into that are just absurd. And again, there's a problem with having clear motivation throughout. Because she doesn't have clear motivation, she doesn't have a set villain. There's just too many of them. You don't need that many villains. I'm sorry, Telemnar. I told you we were going to do summaries, but I actually think this is more fun. Just bitching about randomly about shit that just complaining randomly about subpar elements in the writing. There you go. See, I'm working on it, Jonathan. All right. There was a big one. There was a big doozy one, but for whatever reason, I'm blanking on what it was. But it was massive. It was a massive problem with the plot. I'm trying to remember. Let me think. It's coming to me. Oh, yeah. Right. Okay. So they're trying to write an empowered black girl, right? But she doesn't use her smarts to solve the problem at the climax. Did you notice that, guys? In fact, she spectacularly fails. Go ahead.
Well, in the final combat scene, she does use her cunning and technological devices.
No, but she doesn't solve the problem of the suit. She uses magic to solve it.
Oh, yes.
And that's just she's supposed to be a gadgeteer genius, and in the crux of it, because if the gadget is the thing that wins the day, then the real moment of grit is making it do what you need it to do. And she should be using her intellect to do that. Instead, she's just like, oh, get the witches. I have to use magic.
The power of the girl with the obnoxious t-shirts.
Yeah, that she apparently only has one of, so she must smell like a skunk.
No, there was more than one t-shirt.
But she wore it.
And they were both obnoxious.
Oh, really? What was the second t-shirt?
Let's see.
I know the first one said You're too good for him, and the second one was.
Oh no, the second one was the conservative pride flag, and not much else actually.
Oh, okay. Well,
So we know she's a transphobic fascist.
yeah, she's a transphobic fascist. Unbelievable! I can't believe that Disney put that into their film or their series. Like the pride flag with the I think it's 5 colors, or is it 6 colors? That's fascism now, guys. You need to have 26 colors. You know, and probably they should also include some ultraviolet so that you get some bird rep in there. All right, but yeah, she didn't actually make the gadget work. She wasn't responsible for that. It was the witches and the magic. And okay, so during the climax, how did she use her wits? Remind me.
Well, she's fighting the Cape guy, and at one point there's some confusion and some smoke and so forth, and then we see her take a serious hit. She falls down, the suit flies off her. You see her get up and start begging him, please no, have mercy. And then he walks up to her and punches her, and then bleep, it turns out she was just a holographic projection. And she's still in the suit, and she gets behind him and starts winning, basically.
Okay, so at least she used some wits there. However, I want to point something out. Right? The reason why her suit wasn't properly powered was because she was using wind and hydro. Both of which do not have the, as you said, Telenar, the energy density. That was the reason why it was the reactor that Tony used to power his suit, because there had to be significant energy density. So she was using alternative fuel sources that didn't have the energy density. So then she had to turn to fairy dust and wishes and unicorn farts, because that's how you do with alternative energy. It all comes down to fairy dust and unicorn farts.
Hydro works perfectly well. It's an excellent source of energy in various forms, but she was trying to use solar power. I remember in particular at one point solar power at night while there was no wind, and also using wind power to try to charge her suit back up. Like
she's there for 2 centuries. I'm on 15%.
Did I hear that right? This genius decided to use solar panels for power at night.
Yes, and also she had some small. Oh my God, I've forgotten the word. What's the opposite of propellers? Windmills, not windmills. Whatever.
Cranks.
Yeah. Windmills, I guess. We'll say windmills. Yeah, wind turbines. She had a couple of tiny wind turbines that are like the size of your hand. 2 of them the size of your hand. And this is during a still night. Like there's no way this can work. And half the plot of Iron Man 2008, the original movie, is about Tony figured out how to get the arc reactor to actually work, and it was this amazing, important breakthrough, and everybody was interested in it. And at one point, he actually gets it ripped out because it's so precious, because Obadiah Stane wants it for his own suit, because it's this amazing, incredibly dense energy source, which is also a problem we're struggling with right now, energy density in general. And he puts in the poor substitute that he cobbled together in the cave with a box of scraps, and just adds to the tension. It's not 2 superpowered guys fighting, it's 2 superpowered guys fighting, and one has a very limited battery life. So you just have the AI coming in and saying, you're now at 48% battery. This was not designed to handle sustained flight. And he's got stuff to worry about other than just fighting. So adds to the tension.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, this is a very poorly made piece of work, and I've seen a bunch of reviews suspiciously vague reviews that give it, like if you go to IMDb, there are some people who actually apparently are going to bat for it. Astoundingly, one of them asserts that this doesn't actually take a big old crap on Tony Stark and the Iron Man legacy. And I'm not sure how they can assert that, because there's one point in which Riri and the annoying one are in, yeah, the annoying one. They have this scene where they're being cute. I don't know what. Okay, I will put a pin in that because I want to get back to the cutesy scene. But either of them, one of them says, "Oh, that Tony guy." She goes to MIT on presumably a Tony Stark scholarship. And she says, "Oh, you'll be smarter, you'll be more famous than that Tony guy," who, from what I remember in this timeline, gave his life to bring back a whole bunch of people from death. That Tony guy.
He finished the time machine to bring them all back. He sacrificed himself to save the entire universe.
Yes, but he's just that Tony guy. That Tony guy. Who cares about him? And that's respectful to the legacy of Tony Stark, is it? That's interesting, It's interesting that they're trying to play that off that way. But yeah, it is a mess. It is objectively a mess. They are making objective errors in their writing. And I think we've outlined quite a few of them. There was the other one, the thing that I put a pin in was the cutesy scene with her and her friend, Tweedledum and Tweedledee. Was that supposed to make you sympathetic to them? I'm guessing it was.
The opening one?
Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering if what we're seeing here is people who are outside of a culture trying to write people who are inside of a particular culture when they don't really know much about it, because they're talking about they're basically talking themselves up a lot in that scene in a very over-the-top kind of way, and she's talking about being iconic and basically being famous. And if you look at a lot of basically inner city areas where you have a lot of people who have that kind of attitude, it's like the way to success is fame. Like, I'll become a rapper or a sports star or something like that, famous in some way. And of course, this is one of those things where 1 in 1,000 succeeds and everybody else fails. But
Turgid Banana says people. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Finish.
Yes, I don't. Do we really need to hear from a Turgid Banana?
I don't know.
Anyway,
I'm gonna bring up what he has to say. Yeah, no, it is not. But okay. Also, if you guys want to send us a message, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. So Turgid Banana says people don't like Ironheart because they're racist. No. The parts I like about Ironheart are the racist parts. I like the fact that
I don't like Ironheart because I'm sexist.
Yeah. I like the fact that Ironheart proves they can only write white men well. Hollywood can only write white men well. They keep trying to write these other characters well, and they keep failing because they aren't treating them like characters. They're treating them like check boxes. So every time in this show, it's not even just that a subjective thing. This is another thing I want. Thank you, Turgid Banana, because you reminded me of one of the criticisms that I had about this. When I say that they can only write male characters well, white male characters in particular, male characters usually it can be a little bit touch and go for minority male characters, but they usually are better written than any female characters in a show. The reason why they write male characters well Okay, or that is again because of what I said about the male character has to justify his presence in a story. The diversity hires don't. They just have to be there, which makes them bland and uninteresting because they're not doing anything. They're not lifting any weight. One of the better maybe diversity characters that I've seen recently would be the gender, the non-binary character in Fallout, the Fallout show, and he or she or they worked because there was something they were integral to the plot. They were a side character, but there was something important that they did that led to plot development, and they had an unexpected approach to things. Right, so that wasn't too bad. Now, in the Ironheart series, again, the best written characters were the white men. Second was the male characters, period. The worst written characters were all of the various intersectional females and non-binaries and fluids and trans and everything. They were the worst written characters because when you put in a white male character into a story, there has to be a reason for it. He has to be doing heavy lifting in the plot. Otherwise, you get rid of him and you replace him with somebody who isn't. So that creates a selection process that means the white male characters are the best characters in the story. Now, you could say that, oh, that's just subjective. You just prefer white male characters. But there is an actual objective metric that I will tell you now that indicates that not only are the white male characters the best characters, but the writers on some level know it. You know why? All right. So for the first 3 episodes, we're watching thing 1 and thing 2, like these diversity hires beaking at each other, and all of the shots are mid close-up, mid far, maybe an establishing shot, then back to mid close-up, mid far, mid, and it's just switching back and forth like they're on a damn podcast. The most boring, excruciatingly boring cinematography you can imagine. You're just sitting there and it's a snooze fest. And then suddenly, they focus on a big plot event involving the white man. And suddenly, we're getting actual effort in the cinematography. We're getting interesting color grading. We're getting interesting shots, spiraling shots, Dutch angles. It's like the drama is happening here. So you tell me that they don't know. On some level, they must know that the white men in their story are bringing it and nobody else is. Because when the white man is on the scene, suddenly the cinematography comes alive. And you go watch that show and you notice that. Right? Now you tell me, why is that? Why is that? You know why it is? Because when that white guy was doing his thing and he had the most impactful, the most emotionally impactful moments, because he was essentially dragged into Riri's criminal tornado, criminal hurricane of death, and he got caught in it. And he ended up in prison because of it. And that scene where he's going into prison and he's falling into despair actually had huge emotional impact. And that's why they started the cinematography. And the reason why they gave that to him, who knows? Why are they giving the best stuff for the male characters? Why are they giving the very best stuff to the white male characters? Why are they writing stories for them and not supposedly the main character that they say is the main character, but really could just be plot noise? Okay, like, I mean, you guys noticed that, right? When I pointed out.
Well, yeah, it was very noticeable. I don't know even if we necessarily needed you to point it out, because it's just, the difference is dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
Even since we're talking about Zeke Stain, the much put upon neurotic middle class suburban living white man. Even in the scene where we just see him interacting with his neighbor, who is having her dog poop on his lawn, and not having her not picking it up, like just that rivalry alone, it's got the acting and the writing and the I mean, maybe not the cinematography so much for that scene, but that was already just noticeably better written and better acted than most other things. And then even the scene where he finally finds a bit of courage in him and stands up to her by going over to her place and sabotaging some of her flowers, that already had more interesting cinematography. It gave us this crazy angle of him just crouching over her flowers and like turning and unleashing his inner rage and animal and going nuts on them, and then he puts one between his teeth and runs off in triumph. It's just two people having this stupid bickering relationship. Well, I mean relationship, interaction is what I really mean there, with each other, and yet it was in many ways more emotionally impactful than so much stuff that happened in the rest of the episode, even though it's also really lower stakes.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a clear story.
Yeah, but even before we got the crazy camera work and the lighting and all that stuff, I mean, we were already kind of saying, those last couple of minutes with him interacting with that middle class what's her face, that was some of the best stuff in the show. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was. It's like the story came alive as soon as the white dude was on screen. And I'm like, God, I'm just noticing. I'm just a noticer here now. Noticing this. I'm not the one who constructed it. And and parts of it are absolutely cannot be subjective. Because how is it that the cinematography team just was like, yeah, we better get to work now. White dude's on screen. Time to bring up
the whip.
Time to bring the A game.
Freezing.
Time to bring the A game. White dude's on screen. Now things that matter are happening. Good grief. You tell me where, because it seems pretty objective. Like, you can't fake cinematography, and it's not, like, the changes are not subjective. The changes that I saw, that wasn't a subjective observation. That was an objective observation. Someone was really doing a lot of work to try to tell the story of Joe through cinematography. And they weren't doing that work with Riri, let me tell you. I think maybe once. No, wasn't it even her that got a bit of an angle? Yeah, I guess once when she fell over or something, there was like a little bit of a turn, like looking down in a turn once. It was a bit boring and half-hearted, and it was truncated too soon. They didn't really commit to it. Then they went back to mid shots. Oh, let's do a mid close-up. Let us do a mid. Let us do a mid far. Let us do an establishing shot. Let us do another mid and another mid. And now we are in a conversation, and we will look at this person and then that person for as long as they talk, and then this person and then that person. Oh, we got a lot of people. Let's do a group shot as they talk. It is so fucking boring. Like, this is the kind of cinematography you use when you're relying on the dialogue to hold people's interest because you're creating a comedy show. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to do a heck of a lot of cinematography because the draw is all the patter, the banter between the characters. So you're not going to be doing like a bunch of Dutch angles and weird spirals and all that kind of thing. No, you're just going to be focused on this reaction, talk, reaction, that kind of thing. That's fine. But this is a drama action. Shake it up a little. Do something interesting with your cinematography. Don't bore us to death. All right. So, do you guys have anything we haven't covered? I mean, I know we didn't do the plot, characterization, theme. I don't know. like I said, I'm enjoying this sort of, I can't use the B word. This Reform Fest? What?
Freeform, freestyle.
Freeform. No, I was actually thinking of something a little bit more pointed. This
Female dog fest.
Critique potpourri. Critique
Okay.
potpourri. I'm just gonna say bitch fest. I'm enjoying the bitch fest. All right. So anything else you guys want to put into the pot, the potpourri, pot of potpourri?
One thing that I mentioned, I think, and that should probably go on record here, is one little thing that they have one of the characters do is pop his head into the door whenever Riri and her mother are sitting around and introducing himself by saying, "Hey, black people." And that was, yes, slightly cringy, and really did remind me of, I think I made a joke in the chat when we were watching that about folkish consciousness, which is what the Nazis called, like, I mean, their idea of how racism should work, basically, and that we should, among other things, that the most important thing was to be aware of, to care about your own people, because folk in German, VOLK, is like folk, like people. So and surprisingly enough, the philosophy that got them to that point is actually more closely related to the philosophy that leads all of the far left identity types to refer to everyone as folks rather than people or whatever, especially folks with an X, in fact. They're philosophical kissing cousins. So maybe this is a black racial identity thing. Who knows?
Yeah, but why are they, like, again, why does this show fail so hard until, like, a white dude is on screen? And then it becomes, and
Well,
not just, and again, this is not subjective. The cinematography confirms my impression.
well, you already came up with a working theory of andro-agathicity, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Okay, so it's because
Yeah,
the
so we know
white
why.
male characters have to be justified. There has to be a reason, and probably Joe Stain is like he's a bunch of white male characters all put into one because they wanted to reduce them. And honestly, characters become more interesting when you have too many characters and you bring characters together. They become more interesting. So when you take character, like you take the actions and the traits of multiple characters and merge them, they become more interesting. So if you want to reduce your male characters, you're only going to make them more interesting. And if you want to expand your diversity hires, you're only going to make them more boring and more irritating to watch. And as I said at the beginning, one example or earlier, one of the most powerful examples of merging characters, making the resulting character more interesting, is Darth Vader, who was George Lucas decided to merge Luke's original father with the villain, and that was probably the most genius move, one of the most genius moves in Hollywood history. I think it cemented him as a what's a really good word for it? Like, really a genius of cinema. Just that one thing. And if that's what you're going to do to your white male characters, is you're going to combine them and you're going to expand your diversity characters. You know, there's another show that I watched. I stopped watching it, called The Umbrella Academy. And I noticed, I mean, the first couple seasons I would watch the whole thing and it was fun. And then I noticed this kind of diversity drift with the female and non-binary and basically the non-man characters, right? And I realized that I didn't need to watch their scenes at all. All I had to watch was the scenes with the men. They were more fun. They had more vulnerability. They had more movement, they had more plot, they had more banter, they had more character. They were actually relevant. So in the Umbrella Academy, I just stopped watching the scenes with women or anyone who wasn't a man. And it was a completely coherent story. I mean, isn't that astounding? Like, you just get rid of the scenes with any character who isn't a man by these writers, and it's still a completely coherent and entertaining story. That's astounding to me. Why would you write your female characters in such a way that they're completely superfluous to the plot? And why would you write them to just be like ciphers for your ideology? Isn't that like a form of objectification? What do I know? I'm just a pick-me. All right. Puma Fist says you should stop watching all TV. Yes, I have considered that. But then I wouldn't have anything to react to. And also I wouldn't have abject failures to learn from, because you learn a lot from failures. Learn a lot about what not to do. Okay, so did you guys have anything to add, or I've asked that like 5 times. Okay, go for it, Telmer.
Yep. Well, luckily I have a big mouth. So one final thing is that the show constantly tells us that Riri is a genius, but constantly shows us her doing some very stupid things. And that includes, let's see.
Constantly being dragged into criminal enterprise?
When she could easily do anything else and knows she can, and clearly has the... She also graduates from school early and can get to MIT early and all that stuff, so it's not like she's some smart kid who can't imagine being anything other than a gangster. But also, she... when she's trying to figure out how to destroy the cape, she just brute forces it. We get almost nothing of her actually analyzing it.
Oh, the cape, okay, so just to explain what that's about, at some point Riri is curious or concerned about Dahood, so he takes a sample of Dahood, because the Dahood wears Dahood, Ahud, and to try to figure out who he is. And that's sort of where the witches come in. But go ahead. Go ahead, Talmer.
Yes. So that's one example. And if you, which you could compare.
Then the example is that in order to take a sample from Dahood, she brute forces it with a laser instead of.
Well, I'm referring to her trying to figure out how to destroy it and just trying a bunch of things. And
so she uses a sample, then she tries to destroy the sample, and it is the most.
Yeah, she tries to burn it, she tries to use acid, she tries to... I don't remember what else. I mean, apparently you can easily cut it with a laser, so I don't see how that doesn't make it easily destroyable. But,
Don't apply logic. The scene where she's trying to use sciencism to destroy the piece of the Hood's cape. It is so basic. It's like it's like she got one of those science kits that 80s kids got that you could make chlorine glass with, and she was trying to use that to destroy it. It was so simplistic and basic and just didn't make her seem smart. I think that's what Telmar's getting at.
Yes. That's part of it, and compare that to the shots of Tony Stark building his Iron Man fist. I mean, it really sounds like someone who's very smart and charismatic building something and meeting up with little obstacles and frustrations and working through them. If you've ever even just listened in on somebody working on a car or whatever. But there are also other things, like when she's running away from the van that we see in that opening shot. She's running down the road, the van is going to run her over. She could literally just turn to the side at any point, and then the van, and run between the cars parked there, and the van wouldn't really be able to get to her. She has plenty of room to do that in. Just duck into an alleyway and she's perfectly safe, but she doesn't do that. So she's really a dumb character. She doesn't ask questions. Well, the whole gang is dumb, but she doesn't ask questions like, wait a second, how did we get all this cash out of this company? And in the first episode, because they just basically extorted their way into owning part of the company, which we never talk about again, but they just become part of the system at that point anyway, just an additional parasite on the system. Anyhow, so she doesn't say, like, she doesn't think, well, maybe these people are kind of not trustworthy if they tell me if they tell everyone we're gonna do this, where did all this, like, she doesn't think, wait, where did the cash come from? Because companies don't keep like hundreds of thousands of dollars in a vault in their construction site or whatever. Like, that's not how it works. Let's see. Where's the other one? Well, yeah, her screw up with the mushroom thing was kind of stupid. I think they were inspired by Mission Impossible, but it wasn't that great of an inspiration. And I mean, arguably one of the smartest things she's shown to be doing that is actually smart is when she is fighting the guy with the knives and traps his arm in the curtain at one point when he's trying to stab her, get out of there. That shows that's the most tactical acumen she's shown up until this point. And I mean, I don't know why, but for the entire show, it's like electricity is her nemesis. She never figures out, oh, I need this much power, I should have a couple of backup generators, or I should make sure I'm not connected to the main power grid, or that I'm not going to shut down, like, the university or my house or my neighborhood. And she never seems to learn this, even though she's supposed to be really smart. So, like, what's up with that? Like, she's just shown as not as continuously making the same mistake and not seeming not to learn from it, because not enough power. Like, it's not like she's trying to accomplish something that's incredibly difficult. This is straightforward. I need X amount of power. This place I can draw on Y amount of power. Y is not enough. I need something more, like 1.21 gigawatts from a lightning bolt or whatever. But that just, I don't know. She doesn't learn. We're told she's a genius. She does not act like one, except when we get like her uploading herself into an AI and it making her friend or whatever. Except when the plot kind of covers it.
All right. Did you want to say anything, Doughboy?
No, I think that covers everything.
All right. Okay, then. I think that I have pretty comprehensively covered my problems with Ironheart. I'm sorry, but if you are going to make it so that, again, white male characters are your best characters, who's the racist here? Right? And just go back and look at, like, if the people who wrote this ever, or made this ever hear this, go back and look at how you are presenting your characters in terms of cinematography, and look at how it changes when you get to the climactic moments of Joe Stain's character arc, like the emotional beats of Joe Stain's character arc. Look at how the cinematography changes. It becomes more complex, it becomes more inspired, it becomes more interesting. And then compare that to the emotional beats in Riri's lack of an arc. Right? The emotional beats you're forcing in her lack of an arc. And notice how the cinematography remains boring as doo-doo. Boring as beige. Right? And then you tell me what the hell you think you're doing. Right? And maybe if you're going to include these characters, treat them like actual characters. Treat them to the same, put them to the same standard as you put male characters. White male characters, the same standard of characterization, of character arc, of having worth to the plot. Right? Treat these characters like characters. Right? Hold them to the same standards. And maybe they'll be as interesting and compelling. But you're not. You're not. And that's the problem. All right, so I'm going to say I want to thank panel for joining me, Doughboy, Godcat, and Telenar. It's been quite, this one has been a bit of a slog. I don't know. Is this the worst one? I honestly think House of Dragging On is still the worst one. I'm trying to think if there's anything in recent memory as bad as that.
Well, the technical difficulties weren't too bad, so I was happy. But no, House of Dragon, well, it was longer, but also you have to give Ironheart this. Things happened.
Yes.
And they mattered.
They often made, they did matter somewhat. They often made almost no sense. And they were poorly executed and confusing. But things happened. You gotta give it that. Right?
They should have kept Eric Andre's character in there possibly till near the end. He was one of the best characters on there. And they just killed him off so quickly.
Yeah, what a surprise. You know what? Redo Ironheart and get rid of all of the characters that aren't men. And then you got a show that's worth watching. There you go. That's your solution. Because you guys can only write men. That's the hilarious thing. It's not because I only want to see Ren. Okay, tell them now you've read my writing. Can I write women?
I would say absolutely yes.
Okay. I can write women that are interesting and compelling and do things to advance the plot. These people, these Hollywood people, they can only write men. And that's not my fault for noticing. All right. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for your kind attention. I'll double check to see if we got a super chow. I don't think we did. No, we did not. But if at any point after the show you want to send us a super chow, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Also, I want to do an announcement.
Before we finish.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Sorry to interrupt, but Godcat came in with a number 1 there. He has something he would like to say.
Oh, Godcat, go ahead.
Just a small point. I want to reiterate that I did not watch this show, but there was something that was nagging me when I learned there was a miniseries. I wondered, why a miniseries of 6 episodes? Why not just like a movie? To introduce your new hero. That's what they did with Doctor Strange and Captain Marvel and a lot. After hearing all the disjointed characters and subplots in the name of representation or certain political points or just stupidity, I understand why. This would have been even worse as a movie.
Yeah. And it's not even like it's not even that Ironheart had a political statement of particular note. It wasn't like it was shoehorning anything. The modern day chick. It wasn't like a modern day chick track, right? They weren't shoehorning a political statement into it. The problem is that it just was poorly written. The setups didn't work. They didn't properly weight the things that they presented in the beginning and made sure that they were relevant to the climax. They just didn't do best practices. They just didn't follow proper craft. And they jammed too much in. They shouldn't have introduced the witches 2/3 of the way through. They shouldn't have introduced Mephisto in like the final act, right? They needed to slim down their characters, reduce the diversity cast, do something with their gang of LGBTQ thieves. Like just do something with them at the climax if they're going to spend so much time at the beginning introducing them. So it all came down to writerly craft, spending the time to make a good story that hangs together and follows principles, easily accessible principles. Buy a book on the kind of emotional beats you need to hit, the plot points you need to hit, how many characters you should have for the length of screen time you're using, right? Study the principles of your craft. Don't vomit out this shit. Don't vomit out this. Don't regurgitate this nonsense and then call it writing. You don't have to. Like, this is the thing. How much do these people spend on writing? It wasn't worth it. This is the expense you should get rid of. Like, AI could have done this just as well. Maybe it was written by AI. Who knows? Because it just didn't. It didn't have a proper sense of its structure, of setting things up for the climax. So it's just. It was a failure of writing craft. It wasn't even that it was excessively woke. It was just a massive failure of writing craft. And honestly, it's very suspicious that the writing craft suddenly improves every time a white dude is on screen, or a dude, period. That's really freaking suspicious to me. Like, get it together, Hollywood. If you're gonna write intersectional characters, at least learn to write something other than a white dude. So whatever you're doing now is not working. It's just creating crap, and then you're blaming us for noticing, like we're the racists. It just so happens that all of our intersectional characters are boring stereotypes and not properly integrated into the plot, and they seem like the writers are really uncomfortable with their existence. But it's your fault for noticing, you racist audience. Like, really? No. Okay. I'm now on my third, like, false... Like, this is starting to get, like, a Lord of the Rings ending, so... Thank you, everybody, for joining. Again, feedthebadger.com/justthetip if you want to send us a message. I am going to be putting on a meetup in Calgary September 13th, so that's about 2 months from now. Less than 2 months. You got about 2 months, 5 days or so. So if you are able to come, please go to feedthebadger.com/events. Send me a message, because I'm not going to make the venue public. I don't want a whole bunch of weirdos crashing it. So feedthebadger.com/events.
Only select weirdos.
Only select weirdos. You've got to be select. Feedthebadger.com/events if you're interested in that. And again, I want to thank the panelists, Doughboy, Godcat, and Telemnar. Let's see if I can do this. This is Telemnar. This is Godcat. This is Doughboy. Right? So you guys can learn that for next time. And yeah, so have a very nice evening, afternoon, morning, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. Thank you for your kind attention, and see you in the next one.